Regular meeting of the Independent City Council for Monday, November the 16th, 2020. Our invocation this evening will be offered by Shirley Murdoch, member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. If you would please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our dear Father in heaven, we are gathered together in the attitude of a city council meeting, and we're so grateful for this privilege in the democratic process that lets us come and observe or participate or guide and direct the matters pertaining to the complicated matters of conducting the affairs of a city. And we're grateful for independence and are glad to be citizens here. And our dear Father, we ask blessings of guidance and discernment and inspiration for our mayor and each member of the council and other city officials as they ponder and deliberate the matters and problems and challenges pertaining to directing the city. Our dear Father, we especially ask the blessings upon each citizen of our city, that they will heed the cautions and warnings to wear masks and to social distance in this very challenging time of the pandemic. And we ask a special blessing upon the medical people as they continue to work on a vaccine, which is coming about, that it can be distributed, administered to the citizens quickly, and that it might be effective. We love thee and ask these blessings and give thee deep gratitude for all that we have. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmembers Huff.
Here.
Perkins.
Here.
Stewart.
Here.
DeLucy.
Here.
Steinmeier.
Here.
Hobart.
Here.
Mayor Weir.
Here. We're going to start this evening with our citizens' requests to address the council. The first is Angela Pratt, who requests to speak to the council regarding the Kentucky Hills development. Ms. Pratt.
Good evening. I would like to start by saying thank you for allowing me the opportunity to voice my concerns regarding the proposed development to be built at the bottom of the street in which I live. Myself and a couple hundred of my neighbors feel like this development would be devastating for our little outdated neighborhood. Nerves. The issues that arise in my mind when thinking of the plans for the land is that first, the infrastructure is broken. The sewers already cannot handle the existing homes. Every heavy rain we get, the whole block at the bottom of Colonel ends up flooding. The storm drains are overwhelmed and start flowing up through the manholes, flooding the intersection of Osage and Colonel and up to Spring. Many of my neighbors have already suffered property damage from this existing issue. Also, in the wintertime, the whole bottom of the hill and intersection is just always ice, and the spring of the property only adds to this problem. I cannot imagine the trouble that adding 22 more homes to the already failing infrastructure would create. I'm concerned that adding in these multifamily units will create even more traffic issues than we already have in our little 1960s style neighborhood. Our homes are built so closely together with single car garages that many people have to park on the street. So my point here is, just because these units have garages doesn't mean that it won't add to the existing problem. Especially on Spring Street, which is where I live. My next concern is that the traffic in Kentucky Hills is already so heavy coming up Spring and leading out onto Kentucky Road from 37th and Pleasant that adding 20 to 30 more cars to an already busy intersection doesn't seem like a good idea to me. Which brings me to my next point. We need green space for the children in this neighborhood. to have a safer place for them to play than in the middle of the street at the top of 37th and Pleasant. They're usually about 10 to 15 of all ages out there playing in the middle of the street. They don't have anywhere else to go. We're a neighborhood full of young families and tons of beautiful little kids. I myself have two. We have no park for them, no safe space, no community space. So what effect would adding 22 more families have on this existing issue? We also have no bus line or close businesses or groceries, and the elementary school is at capacity. It concerns me to think of the person who currently owns the property to build multifamily units when the property is already not being properly taken care of. In fact, many in the neighborhood pitch in to mow it because it just sits there growing wild and unattended. I actually thought it was abandoned property when I bought my house in 2019. I know there may be concerns that we're just trying to keep out low-income housing and that we're not being inclusive, but that simply is not the case. We are asking not to be overloaded in an already very cramped space. And I want to say how proud I am of my neighborhood that we've all banded together on this issue. Please vote no tonight for the Kentucky Hills development, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is John Rowe, who requests to speak to the council regarding the Kentucky Hills development. Mr. Rowe, are you here? Since you have previously spoken on this topic, you will have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For the record, my name is John Rowe. I'm an attorney with the Rowe Law Firm, and I represent the owner applicant on ordinance number 20-076, and my address is 4444 North Bellevue. I'd like to use my time tonight to address the 5 reasons that the city staff recommended denial of this project to show that those reasons don't support a recommendation of denial. First one was the residential infill development standards of 14-505-06 intended to encourage infill development that is compatible with the physical character of the neighborhood in which the property is located would not be met. I want to point out that you have a table 300-1 in your zoning ordinance that lists the zoning districts and the use group and has a special column called use standards that have to be met. And when you go to this table 300-1 and go to the R30 PUD, which is what this property is zoned for, and go down the use standards, there is no 14-505 use standard requirement. The other household living line items have 14-505, but not this one. Secondly, that standard says, unless otherwise noted in this code, this provision shall apply to lots platted or otherwise created before January 1, 1975. And this city council created this subdivision, Solid Rock subdivision, well after 1975. And even if it does apply, let's look at it. Do we comply with the lot standards? Yes. Front setbacks, our setbacks are the same as the existing homes in the neighborhood. Height, we're single story, just like the neighborhood. Building width, no deviation from what's existing out there. Building orientation, we're oriented to the street just like everybody else.
You have 1 minute.
Building entry, just like everybody else. Roof, driveways, windows, and doors are just like everybody else. Talked about orientation would cause traffic flow and parking problems. Nobody mentions we meet the off-street parking requirements of the city. So why is there going to be a traffic problem when we meet your ordinance requirement? Old storm and sanitary systems in place are a problem. When we met with the city staff, nobody said that. We have a letter that 38 units would have been okay here, and we've got 22. Applicants not provided a rough draft of the covenants? Sure we did. It's in your packet. And the amenity provided, a gazebo, is not adequate. I'll just point out that in your packet you have a letter from the city staff before we ever went to the Planning Commission that said provide for amenities not typical of other developments, and one of the suggestions that the staff gave us was gazebo. So we put a gazebo on our plan, and then the staff says the amenity provided is not adequate. this is a project that meets your zoning requirements and meets your comprehensive plan, and we're respectfully asking for your recommendation, or your vote of approval. And I guess one other thing, I see some signs, Kentucky Hills. This city council carved this property out of Kentucky Hills. It's not a Kentucky Hills subdivision. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jana Evans, who requests to speak to the council regarding the Kentucky Hills development. Ms. Evans, you also will have 3 minutes, as you've previously spoken on this topic.
Jana Evans, 3403 North Delaware, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about this. I know I've talked about it ad nauseum. First of all, HOAs fail. We know all about that in Kentucky Hills. Builders dissolve them and go away, and things get left in a mess, and members can vote them out. Also, there is a traffic problem in Kentucky Hills. You would know that if you lived there. And there is a well-known community-wide issue with storm water and sewer in Kentucky Hills. Okay, it has also been suggested that this development meets all requirements of the 2040 Comprehensive Plan, per the council's own words in the 2040 Plan, pages 14 through 40, of which you have a handout. Your goal is to preserve quality environment, community activity and interaction, tools, invest in green space, encourage physical character reflecting the historic setting, add amenities, and rehab existing housing. Independence seeks to protect existing neighborhoods. Future trends bring back amenities. Guiding principles improve, maintain, and preserve integrity of existing neighborhoods. It is the intent of this plan to preserve the home types and density levels currently in place. Tools and policies. Provide open space and recreational opportunities for neighborhoods. Encourage rehabilitation programs and reinvestment in existing neighborhoods. Conserve land. Foster low-impact, naturalized stormwater management practices. Tools and policies. It is incumbent that land use balances need for growth with the protection of existing community assets. While development is encouraged, the short-term benefit must be weighed against the long-term impacts in the community's quality of life.
You have 1 minute.
Encourage preservation, visual character, and function of existing neighborhoods while protecting from incompatible adjacent development. Enhance amenities of existing neighborhoods and their environmental quality, and protect from encroachment by incompatible development and buffer from noxious or nuisance impact. Be more sensitive to neighborhood concerns and impacts. Encourage environmental compatibility and sensitive design that fits the development site with special sensitivity to existing character in the community. Existing neighborhoods should be protected to preserve quality of life for existing residents. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. That concludes our speakers who signed up in advance. Are there any speakers who wish to address the council here this evening? Okay, thank you very much. This takes us to our consent agenda. Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor Weir, I move to approve the reports and recommendations of the city manager.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any items any council member wishes pulled for separate consideration?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
may I have 20806 through 809 pulled? Do I need to read them individually?
Okay. Any others? Okay, Madam City
Mayor?
Clerk. Yes.
I'm sorry. I wondered if we could have a little presentation on number 2. That's also I'd like to pull too.
Okay. Okay. Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll on the consent agenda, minus Resolution 20806, 20807, 20808, 20809, and item number 2.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Steinmeier.
Yes.
Hobart.
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes. Councilman Perkins, 20806.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just make the motion for approval.
Is there a second?
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none.
Madam Mayor,
Yes?
I received word today that Research Hospital is closing to all visitors tomorrow because they have over 100 COVID patients. Their staff is out. Their OR has been closed for over a week due to lack of supplies, and they are no longer accepting trauma patients. For us to blindly say we will not follow future orders, no matter what they are, is irresponsible. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
this resolution is really just a show of solidarity with our local business who have been quite vocal about the hardships that have been inflicted upon them at no fault of their own. We have a county that has consistently not provided information to us when we have asked for it. We are a charter city. We have a right to ask the county health department, who is right now running the show, what impact this pandemic has had on Independence specifically. And it's not just about health, it's also about human needs. You know, George Bernard Shaw said science never resolves a problem without creating 10 more. Well, we have at least that many that we need to look at. And I do sympathize with the fact that our health is at a crucial stage right now, but so is our business world, our economy, our families. We have lots of issues that we need to be talking about, but we can't drive any dialogue without policies or data that can allow us to shape the direction of our city. And our city businesses are hurting. We've had over 100,000 businesses close in this nation since this pandemic. We've had 16 close in Kansas City, many of them well known to you. I think it's irresponsible for us to continue to just say, well, yeah, I want to take it one step further. I had an email this week from someone that says the sacrifice of small business is a small price to pay. And I was shocked by that. This discussion has become so polarized about masks and social distancing and washing hands. We support all those measures. We're not saying we want to go backwards. We're saying we're content where we are. But if you want to go backwards, which I think that's where the county is leaning, we need to have a seat at the table. And we need to have some discussion on what that does to our economies, to our families' economies, to our business economy, to our city's economy. Mr. City Manager, I asked you a couple of weeks ago for the daily number of revenue that we need in this city. Do you have a number for us?
Citywide is, and the way I calculated this was, generally just taking our annual operating budget, which this year was about $300 million, and dividing it by the number of business working days, which I believe was around 248 if you back out weekends and city holidays. So that'd be slightly over $1 million. Obviously money comes in unevenly throughout the year, but roughly that would equate to needing citywide $1 million plus daily, and then about $300,000 in the general fund daily.
Folks, I hope you heard that. It's a lot of money. And when you start shrinking your revenue base, that number gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so all we're asking tonight is a show of solidarity that we will stand with our small business. That 2.5 is where we want to stay. And if the county decides, and I feel like they're inching us backwards, that we just want a seat at the table to talk about what that means to the impact of not just health, but on human lives. And so that's all this resolution's about tonight.
Is there any further discussion?
Briefly, Madam
Yes.
Mayor. This is the third time that this has been in front of us in the last consecutive city council meetings. And I can appreciate the desire to make decisions based on data and not on desire. The people that came and spoke before this council the first time this came up were public health experts, not people saying, I want small business to open up. Everybody up here has their right to an opinion. Everybody in this town has their right to an opinion. We have not seen any data that says it's better to open up your businesses all the way than it is to protect your health. Now, with respect to Councilmember Steinmeier, you say you want a seat at the table. This ensures we'll never get a seat at the table. You don't stand in the corner and say, you're not the boss of me. I'm not doing what the county says no matter what. This is not the way to get the respect we're after. And I will absolutely be voting no on it.
Madam Mayor, may I clarify something?
Yes.
I have nowhere in any of these resolutions, if anybody would take the time to read them, nowhere has Councilmember Huff or myself said anything about opening up fully. We want to support our small business community. If Councilmember Hobart has the ability to bring our voice to the county, I encourage him to do so. But by this point, we haven't seen any of that. We just need a place at the table to discuss our economic future. That's all. No disrespect intended to anyone, but I think we've tried to polarize this into being this wide open Wild West territory, and it's not. And it's not. So I hope that you understand our hearts tonight. We're trying to give solidarity and a stand of support to the people who are hurting also. And I don't believe for one second that we should sacrifice one more small business in this community. That's just my opinion.
Any further discussion?
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
Thank you. I think we can all agree that we're for small businesses. This is a definitely unique time in everybody's lives, for sure. How we've handled this can be debatable into the future as we look back. I think we're all trying to do the best that we can. I'm looking through section 1, 2, and 3 of the resolution here, and I can agree with darn near just about everything here. Of course, we do not have the line item veto, of course, but I am seeing in nowhere here in the section where this brings us to the table for discussion. It opposes, but we don't know what to oppose. We don't know what the new numbers may bring. We don't know what the new reality may be next week or 2 days from now, but I don't see where we are brought to the seat of the table in any of this.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
No?
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
No.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
No.
Mayor Weir.
No. Item fails. Councilmember Perkins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move for approval of 20-0807.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes?
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
No.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
No.
Mayor Weir.
No. Item passes. Councilmember Perkins.
Thank you, Mayor. I move for approval of 2808.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I have a question,
Yes, Councilmember DeLucy.
and I guess it's to you, Mr. Walker. This resolution, it's open-ended. It says it'll end in December unless further extended. How much money is this going to cost us?
I spoke with Mr. Tom Scannell, whose department oversees the business licensing program. These don't come in evenly throughout the year, just like every business. They fluctuate month to month. If you assume that this becomes effective, here in the next few days, if this were to be passed and then carried through the end of December, the number of landlords that would be applying, and assuming that this would be the $50, so total revenue below $25,000, that would be about a $7,500 impact. Out of an annual program, it's about $190,000 in revenue.
Has there been any evidence that the landlords have been adversely affected by their $50 fee?
I don't have any data in front of me tonight. I know that some of the narratives that we have seen in the national news have been that with the moratorium that certainly people aren't paying, that's a lack of revenue to them, but I couldn't quantify that for you in terms of a dollar amount.
Aren't they eligible to get the disaster loan?
I'm
The
sorry.
one that's forgiven by the feds?
I'm sorry. I'm not familiar with the terms of that particular, the loan, the economic disaster loan that you're speaking of.
Well, I just think before we start giving money away, we should figure out if there's a need to do it. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on this item? Yes.
Yes, Mr. City Manager, they still have to have the annual or this 2-year inspection on these properties.
The rental ready program,
This is just
correct.
waiving, since landlords are having a hard time collecting their money from a lot of these tenants because they don't have jobs. They're usually the people there are working out here in the service industry and having a hard time making ends meet. Just thought we'd look into seeing about the landlords for once here is what this is about, as long as they do their inspections and keep their properties up.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
No.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
No.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
No.
Mayor Weir.
No. Item fails.
Get my picture.
Councilmember Perkins, 20809.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move for approval of 20-809.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember DeLucci?
Thank you. Do we have a surplus? Do we know? I thought we didn't have the numbers yet.
We are still finalizing that report, Councilmember DeLucy, and that will be presented to the Public Utility Advisory Board Thursday, and then I believe at the December 14th study session, if that's the correct date, to the City Council.
Okay. Yes, that
And
is
the
the
burning
correct date.
reason to do this resolution tonight is what?
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry, ma'am.
Why are we doing this tonight? If we don't have the information, why are we doing it tonight? Why don't we wait until we have the information? You're telling me it's only a month away?
My understanding of the resolution is it's to start to set some parameters.
Yes. Councilman Huff?
I think
Yes,
it's
we
premature,
evidently have
that's all.
25 million in excess. That's not been a problem all along. There is going to be excess money. That's all this is doing is giving it to the PUAB, which says by the charter, to give them their advisory board. If there's surplus money there that they can figure out, do we need to pay off bonds? Do we need to give it back to the ratepayers? Either way, it's given back to the ratepayers. We know there's money there. We give away 25 million. We got back 12.5 just about a month ago. So there will be excess money, probably a neighborhood of 25 million. So this is just stepping it up so they can get it on their agenda, hopefully to see if they can come up with something.
Well, the PUAB has a meeting scheduled for Thursday, correct? So I would just prefer to let them, add this to their agenda, certainly. Let the PUAB hear the presentation, get the information, and bring us back a recommendation. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
No.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
No.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
No.
Mayor Weir.
No. Item fails. This takes us to our public hearings.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor. Excuse me, Madam Mayor, I
Yes.
had item 2.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Yes, Councilmember DeLucy had asked for a presentation on item number 2, Mr. City Manager.
Yeah, item number 2 is the city's stop-loss insurance program. What that means is that we are a self-funded health insurance plan for our city employees and their dependents and spouses who are on our plan. If we have a claim that were to exceed $275,000, this insurance would kick in to pay the amounts above that. So the city pays for the cost of an insurance claim below $275,000. The stop-loss insurance would pay for anything above $275,000.
And Mr. City Manager, where's the money coming from to pay for the stop-loss insurance?
The Stay Well Fund, which is funded 80% by the city and 20% by the employees.
And has the Stay Well Fund approved this suggestion?
Yeah, this was a recommendation of the Stay Well Committee.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move approval of item 2.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Item number 2 passes. Now we will move to our public hearings. The first is a public hearing for the application by Isosceles Properties LLC requesting a preliminary development plan for a duplex development for the property located at 3206 North Spring Street. This is new information only and will require a 2/3 majority vote for approval due to a valid legal protest petition received from surrounding property owners. Mr. Scannell. Oh, you're not Mr. Scannell. I'm on autopilot.
Thank you, Mayor. Members
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Rick Arroyo, the Assistant Community Development Director here. This application was...
Rick, would you mind, just step forward a little bit?
Sorry.
The Councilmember DeLucy is having a hard time hearing you.
Sorry. Thank
That's
you, Mayor.
okay. All he's done is introduce himself so far. You haven't missed anything.
My name is Rick Arroyo, the Assistant Community Development Director here. This application was considered by Planning Commission on September 15th. The Planning Commission recommended against approval of this application, and I have no new information to report.
Okay, is there any comments or questions from the council on the public hearing? Public hearing is closed. Madam City Clerk.
Bill number 20-076, an ordinance approving a preliminary development plan for a tract of land located at 3206 North Spring Street in Independence, Missouri. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill?
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Councilmember Perkins.
Thank you, Mayor. This has been a topic of discussions off and on through the summertime and to the present. And I've spoken with the developer and with the property owners out there, follow the Planning Commission meetings and following the fact they held 1.5 meetings, almost 2 meetings, discussing this matter. I'm going to be voting not to approve the plan, preliminary development plan, due to the fact that the city staff has not recommended approval, and the Planning Commission, as I'm looking here, voted unanimously not to approve this.
Okay, thank you. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
No.
Perkins,
No.
Stewart,
No.
DeLucy,
No.
Steinmeier,
No.
Hobart,
No.
Mayor Weir.
No. Item fails. Our next public hearing is for the rezoning of 49 lots in an area between the railroad line, 14th Street, Hardy, and Truman Road from R18 PUD, High Density Residential Planned Unit Development, to R6 single-family residential. This is new information only. Mr. Arroyo.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. This application was considered by Planning Commission on October 13th. The Planning Commission recommended in favor of this application, and I have no new information to present.
Is there any comment or question from the council on the public hearing? The public hearing is closed. Madam City Clerk.
Bill number 20-085, an ordinance approving a rezoning from District R18 PUD medium-density residential planned unit development to District R6 single-family residential for properties generally located between Truman Road and 14th Street and between the Union Pacific Railroad right-of-way and Hardy Avenue in Independence, Missouri. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes, item passes. Our next public hearing is for the application received from Cracker Barrel Old Country Store for a restaurant, bar, malt liquor, and light wine with Sunday sales license for the Cracker Barrel Old Country Store, number 179, located at 411 South Lee Summit Road. This is a full public hearing. Mr. Scannell.
Yes, Mayor and members of the council. My name is Tom Scannell. I'm the Community Development Director. As the title announces, the old Cracker Barrel Old Country Store is seeking a liquor license to serve beer and light wine. This is for their store located at I-70 and Lee Summit Road. This will be the first liquor license at this location since the store has opened, and that concludes staff's presentation.
Okay, this is a full public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Are there any comments or questions from the council on the public hearing? Okay, the public hearing is closed. Madam City Clerk.
Council action is requested for the application received from Cracker Barrel Old Country Store for a restaurant, bar, malt liquor, and light wine with Sunday sales license for the Cracker Barrel Old Country Store, number 179, located at 4110 South Lee Summit Road.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Stewart,
No.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Item passes. This takes us to our non-ordinance action items. Madam City Clerk.
Council action is requested to approve amending the CARES Act budget.
Mr. City Manager, would you like to just provide a little detail on this amendment?
I would be pleased to. As the council will recall, certainly been a long and winding road with our CARES Act funds, but we did receive a little over $6.9 million through the amount that was allocated to Jackson County. We were required to put a spending plan forward to the county so that they could document the eligibility of those expenses as the guardian, if you will, of those funds. Now that we are a few months into this and we are bumping up against the December 30th deadline to have these funds fully expended, we want to make sure that we do so, not only so that we don't turn any funds in, but quite frankly, that we can continue to demonstrate that we have need in this city. The council will recall we submitted a funding request of over $25 million to the county and received only 6.9. There's a few areas where we aren't spending those funds as fast as we originally thought. So we are requesting that the council reallocate those specifically to help with what we're calling technical assistance, which is the upgrade of the sound system in this room, the video and technology equipment associated with broadcasts of our public meetings, the technology for employees who are working remotely or out in the field more than they were in an office setting. That's put the virtual shift has put quite a strain on our very dated technology to begin with, so we're asking to accelerate the completion of those upgrades through allocation of these funds. The second item that is a part of this is what we're calling a buy local program. The Chamber of Commerce has vetted a few options for supporting some local business, specifically in the area of the hospitality and restaurant and retail industry, some of the sectors that have been challenged throughout the pandemic. It's my understanding that this would be open to any business, not just a chamber member business necessarily, but what the funding would do, which would be in the amount of $10,000, would underwrite the convenience fee portion for the third-party firm that would organize the the Buy Local campaign. So that a local business that made a sale was able to keep 100% of that transaction rather than whatever percent cut that they would owe to the company for the convenience fee of offering the sale. So that's a very quick assessment of what this proposal is this evening.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes, item passes.
Council action is requested to amend the health permit and business license fees for mobile food units.
Mr. City Manager, I'd also ask you to just briefly explain this action that's being requested this evening.
Yeah, we have some duplicative fees and inspection requirements right now on mobile food units, duplicative of the county. We've gotten feedback from those mobile food vendors that has been cost prohibitive for them to come into our community because they're being essentially double inspected and double charged in order to operate here. So we are setting up a reciprocity program. We'd still have some requirements, but greatly reduce the administrative burden and the financial impact by accepting some of the inspection already being performed by the county.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments on this item? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes, item passes. This takes us to our second readings.
Bill number 20-084, an ordinance amending Chapter 4 of the City Code, Building, Plumbing, and Electrical Installations by adding a new Article 16, Vacant Structure Registration and Maintenance, and amending the Dangerous Building and Unsafe Building section of Chapter 4. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes, ordinance passes.
Bill number 20-086, an ordinance amending Article 3, Curfew, Parental Responsibility of Chapter 12 of the Independent City Code. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Councilmember Huff?
Yes, Mr. City Manager, on this particular one, I would like to know what time that these events are happening out there that cause all these problems, that 9 or 10 o'clock curfew is going to change that, number one. And who's enforcing this? I always have a problem with enforcement around here. We passed the thing the other day about the people on the corners out in the medians. It's still happening, no enforcement whatsoever. I'm just wondering who's going to enforce this. And my third issue here is, here we go, we're punishing businesses again. I don't think that this has anything to do with it. It's just hurting more and more people out there. I'm a proponent of the center. I just don't think it's the city's place to be. And you're picking and choosing 39th Corridor or whatever out the rest of the city. There's problems all over this city. But my biggest is we're picking and choosing again who stays open, who don't, basically. It's going to hurt the businesses out there. So.
Yeah, I think we were trying to be responsive to the requests that we heard from the council, particularly about the Independent Center, where there's been several high-profile incidents lately. That's really where our primary retail corridor is located in the city, and typically where we're seeing the most calls for service at. We've worked on this with our prosecutor, Mitch Langford, and our police department, and I know Deputy Chief Jarnigan stepped up here, so perhaps he could give a little bit more detail on what they're seeing on the front lines there.
Well, on that, also, if we're going out there so many times, why aren't we charging them anything? We're sending all of our resources out there. Number two, while you're up here, is what's the penalty? I haven't seen a penalty yet. The last thing out there, I heard one person went to juvenile court. Out of all these 300 people out here, we only send one. I don't think that's much of a message. And once again, the parents are responsible for this, dropping them kids off out there. I understand where you're going, but I just don't see that the timing as far as a curfew. I would think something like some kind of a number of people out there ganging up at a time would be more enforceable than saying, hey, you got a curfew at 9 o'clock when they're doing it at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, Ken Jarnigan, Deputy Chief with the Police Department. It's a kind of a two-pronged issue. The first issue, most of these kids are 14 and 15 years old. They're being brought out, our last incident that we had a few weeks ago, they're being brought out, what we discovered, by Uber and Lyft. The parents, and most of these kids are not from Independence, the parents are as uncooperative as the kids are. We've had these incidents range anywhere from 6 p.m. to 9 and 10 p.m. Usually starts at the Independence Center, and then they make their way over to AMC 20. When the officers get there, they disperse into numerous groups and take off. We end up having multiple locations, the Independence Center, Chick-fil-A, and across the street, and zaps our resources. The purpose of the ordinance is two-pronged, to start holding these parents responsible when we notify them to come pick their children up, and they're very uncooperative with our officers. And you're correct. As far as charging them, 14 and 15 years old, youth court is pretty much our only answer at this time.
Okay. Thank you.
So what this would do, if I understand you, is this would hold the parents responsible or the guardian responsible if the youth were to be in violation of the curfew.
Yes, if we can get
And
the parents.
I mean, everything's hard to enforce. I mean, we'd know that, but this at least gives us, would
Correct.
provide us with some type of action that could be taken in this situation.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments or questions on this item?
Mayor Weir,
Yes.
staff was, after Friday, did have an opportunity to take a last look at this. One of the concerns that we do have is youth who attend events at the Cable Dahmer Arena. If there was a concert or a hockey game, certainly we want those folks to be able to come and enjoy that, but that's a little bit different environment than what we're talking about here. So if the council would be supportive, we would encourage some amendment language that would exempt that area from this particular ordinance.
So, Mr. City Manager, in that case, that would be they are attending a ticketed event. They have a ticket issued to them. I'm concerned that we don't want to eliminate it entirely with people congregating outside of the arena.
Correct.
But if they have are in possession of a ticket to attend the event inside the arena, they would be permitted to be there unaccompanied, provided they have
With the expectation that they would be picked up at the conclusion of the event, not loiter as you're referencing.
Okay, then we would need a motion to amend this to exempt the Cable Dahmer Arena for ticketed events, if that's a
Correct.
proper way to say that.
Madam Mayor, I'll make that a
Madam Mayor, I so move.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the amendment?
Not on the amendment. I wanted to ask Deputy Chief
Okay.
something.
Yeah, go ahead.
I guess what I'm picking up on, Deputy Chief Jarnigan, is these kids are getting dropped off by Uber and Lyft. Parents aren't paying any attention. Then they're just running around, run across 39th Street, go to the theater, go to Chick-fil-A. So there's no, it's not like they're getting in cars and hiding and going over to places. They're literally just dropping off and treating the whole area like a
It's a playground.
park, a playground.
It's a playground,
It's
correct.
a playground. Okay.
Yes.
I want to make sure I understand what's going on. Thanks.
Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
just another question. Have we made any effort to talk to the businesses out along 39th Street and get their support?
Yes, we've been in discussions with the Independence Center. They're taking some other security measures after the last incident that we had out there a few weeks ago.
What about Chick-fil-A?
AMC, they have taken, as far as their ticketing procedure, they've changed their ticketing procedure because it's an issue with them as well. Chick-fil-A, we have not had any discussions with them at this time.
Will they be exempt if it's a ticketed event? I mean, it's the same as a movie? Is that something that would allow them to be out? If they're buying a ticket, they're soliciting a business?
I'm not quite sure I'm following.
I don't
apologize.
Well, if they're at the hockey game and they have a ticket and they've purchased tickets at a movie theater, what's the difference? One's
I
a city
see.
event or at a city facility that we own. The other is a business. So if they have a ticket to go see a movie,
And then they go to a restaurant.
right,
The problem with
I gotcha.
AMC that our officers who work off-duty there have explained to us is that a lot of times what happens is you have a few of their friends that will purchase the tickets, and then they go around to side doors and start opening up side doors. And then they enter, and then we have a lot of issues with them later on during the night. Again, AMC's taken some other measures regarding their ticketing, but we have not seen the issues at the event center that we have at AMC, and a lot of it's because of those particular instances where they're going around to side doors and opening the doors for their friends to come in.
yeah, I mean, that's nothing new.
Yeah.
I did that too.
Yes. Yeah, unfortunately, it poses quite a few problems for us.
Yeah.
Right, so I just don't want it to look as though we're treating one facility special over another one.
I think that's an excellent point, Councilman, so maybe you could make an amendment to the amendment that if they are in possession of a ticket to any ticketed event in the area, that they would be permitted to be in that event.
Right.
If I'm stating that properly.
Can I so move?
You may.
So,
We will need a second.
Second.
I don't understand what that, is that another amendment? What is that?
So now I'm going to call on the city clerk to guide us through how we vote on these amendments, and I'll see that you want to say something. So we need to vote on the most recent amendment first. So then, if I can restate this in plain English, we're saying if you have purchased a ticket to an event at the event center or a ticket to a movie or perhaps some other event that may go on out in that area, then you are permitted to be there for that event. That ticket does not allow you to be in other businesses past the curfew once the event is over. Councilman Huff.
Yes, I was just wondering, since the AMC has been successful with off-duty, the event center's been successful with off-duty, why aren't we forcing or talking with Independent Center to have off-duty there? Because that seems like that's the success rate, instead of these, I think there's only one guy out there at night, can't control that whole place. I'm just wondering, we start charging these people for going out there and using all of our resources and taking away from other things in this city, maybe they might wake up, because I think it's their problem. It is a city problem also, but it should be addressed there.
We do have
recommend that we see about getting some off-duty out there.
We do have off-duty at the Independence Center. I don't know if it's sufficiently staffed.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? I'm going to ask the city clerk to restate the motion and call the roll.
So the motion for amendment number 2 is to allow for all ticketed events. Admission to all ticketed events would be exceptions to currently how the ordinance is written.
Correct. Okay. It has been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff?
Yes.
Perkins?
Yes.
Stewart?
Yes.
DeLucy?
Yes.
Steinmeier?
Yes.
Hobart?
Yes.
Mayor Ware?
Yes. Amendment 2 passes. Do we need to vote on the previous amendment?
No, because amendment number 2 encompasses
I see.
amendment number
Okay.
1, so we just need a motion to approve the item as amended.
Okay, so if there is no further
So
discussion.
moved.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second to approve the item as amended. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff?
Yes.
Perkins?
Yes.
Stewart?
Yes.
DeLucy?
Yes.
Steinmeier?
Yes.
Hobart?
Yes.
Mayor Ware?
Yes. Item passes. We'll give it a try.
Indeed.
Where were we? Okay, this takes us to our first readings. The first item, number 20083, staff has requested that this be read as an emergency. Mr. City Manager, would you like to explain the justification for this request as an emergency?
This item had its first reading at our last meeting. However, the amount listed was $550,783. That the title did not contain the $553,000. We left the 3 out.
Okay.
In speaking with the city clerk, our options were to go back to square one and have another reading and all of that. So we would ask that this be treated as a second reading, since technically it did have a first reading, we just had the wrong title in there.
I got you. Okay. So we will need a motion to read this as an emergency.
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll on the motion to read item number 20083 as an emergency?
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins, Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes. Madam City Clerk, you can proceed with 20083.
Bill number 20083, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of a 2020 Spartan Custom 4-door aluminum squad pumper fire truck from Precision Industries, Inc. for $553,783 and making the necessary appropriations. Bill number 20-083, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of a 2020 Spartan Custom 4-door aluminum squad pumper fire truck from Precision Industries, Inc. for $553,783 and making the necessary appropriations. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes. Ordinance passes. Madam City Clerk.
Bill number 20-087, an ordinance granting a 10-foot general utility easement to Spire, Missouri, Inc. across part of Lot 1 of Ansley Apartments First Plat. Bill number 20-088, an ordinance finding, determining, and declaring the necessity of acquiring temporary construction and grading easements and general utility easements for the Vale Sidewalk Improvements Project, project number 701100807, authorizing the negotiation and eminent domain proceedings if necessary, approving the plans and specifications for the project, authorizing the use of experts as needed, authorizing and directing the execution of documents and the payment of funds to property owners or others holding property rights in conjunction with the project. Bill number 20-089, an ordinance amending the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 14 of the Independent City Code pertaining to donation bins and centers. Bill number 20-090, an ordinance approving a rezoning from District C2, General Commercial, to District C3, Service Commercial, for the property located at 1026 West 23rd Street South in Independence, Missouri. Bill number 20-091, an ordinance approving a rezoning from District I1 Industrial and District R6 Single Family Residential to C1 Neighborhood Commercial for properties located at 1450 West Lexington Avenue in Independence, Missouri. Bill number 20-092, an ordinance authorizing an agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for the Public Transit Operating Assistance Grant in the amount of $16,653 for operating expenses associated with transit service for the period July 1, 2020 through June 30, 2021, and making the necessary appropriations.
Okay, thank you very much. That concludes our agenda for this evening. I will move on to council member comments. I will start on my right with Councilmember Stewart.
Nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilmember Perkins.
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Councilman Huff.
Nothing this evening.
Don't let me down, Councilman Steinmeier.
I do have something. I'm wondering if Christina's still here.
Is
I
she in
think she was
the
doing
annex?
the screening. We'll check.
While we're looking for Christina, do you mind? Councilmember DeLucy, do you have anything this evening? No.
No, ma'am, thank you.
Okay. Christina may still be out doing our testing. She's not here. Okay. Councilman Steinmeier?
Well, okay. I think that the overall health of our community is crucial. There she is. Hi, Christina, come on up. The COVID-19 pandemic certainly creates a challenging situation for evaluating and planning our community action. It seems that the direct health viewpoint, while extremely important, is limited in its perspective, and we should be looking at comprehensive community health, which includes health and wellness, both mental and physical, and also includes economic conditions that are known social detriments of health. We'll know more about what's going to happen with the county here and their guidelines as they seem to be moving things backwards soon. But I think now's the time for the city's health advisory board to look at the comprehensive health of the community. And so I would ask the board to support asking this committee to look into the report back to us and report back to us on the following. And would you put up those points for me, please?
Who is,
Becky is.
oh, Becky's got them.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So these are, Christina, I'm looking for topics here for your health advisory board to discuss. I want to remind everybody, I asked for the numbers that you've been giving us as information only. Now that they seem to be pulling back those numbers from us a little bit, making it a little more difficult to understand where we stand. I also asked that your group start meeting monthly to really advise us. And at points, I've been a little disappointed in the discussions. I know that a couple times that you had one member who was trying to discuss the impact on small business, and it just got overlooked. And I would like to talk about the bigger picture of health and not just the county mandate. So I'm asking that these 4 bullet points be taken back to your discussion. The first one, we would like to define the factors related to comprehensive community health, both direct and indirect, if we could. And we'll send these to you. Okay. And then the second bullet point is issue a report on general economic and health impacts of COVID-19. I'd like to see determine with the county what the outlook is for the next 60, 120, and 180 days for county health limitations on business and community interaction. And then on the fourth one, to assess if the county health decision-making process includes broad community input to provide a comprehensive perspective. I have one question that a constituent asked me, and I would like to try to find an answer because I've asked many people, and I would like to see if you could help me find the answer to this. And that is, this particular individual had 3 positive tests. They all went through CVS. They gave their ID. It was all logged. So the question is, did they have 3 positive tests or one person who tested positive?
Now is your question, I'm sorry. I'm Christina Heinen, Acting
No, I'm
Health
sorry.
Director for the City of Independence.
Thank you, Christina.
Christina, move forward just a hair. Would you
Sorry,
think?
for Councilmember DeLucy. I am Christina Heinen, Acting Health Director for the City of Independence. So is your question how it was recorded by the county and the state?
Yes.
With those 3 separate positive tests?
Yes.
So my understanding is the county would only count that as 1 positive test. They only count an individual, and they only count them once if they count positive. The state actually counts it 2 separate ways, and they have both on their website. They'll count for, each individual positive, but they will also account for 1 positive per person, and give both of those numbers when they're looking at positivity rates.
Well, you're the first person that's honestly answered that. I'd like for you to confirm that that's how they in fact do it.
I will.
And if you could report back to us in a couple weeks at the next
I
council
can
meeting.
do that. I will take this, I'll send this out to my board probably first thing tomorrow morning, and we'll see if we can get them to discuss, or at least start the discussion this week.
So that we are all on the same page, I just want to make sure that Councilman Steinmeier has the support of this council to move these forward. So I'm just, unless there is some objection to bringing these 4 things before the Advisory Board of Health, I would say, let's bring that forward from the entire council. Is there any objection from any member of the council?
Yes, absolutely, there's an objection. This
Okay.
needs to be a resolution on an agenda item, or there needs to be authority provided why Councilmember Steinmeier can treat the Advisory Board of Health as his personal plaything.
So let's take a vote. Ms.
Do we
Councilman-
get to vote on it tonight, or does it need to be on an agenda?
We can vote on it tonight if there's a motion.
I'm not,
Councilman Steinmeier, would you like to put this in the form of a motion?
I would like to move that, that this report be submitted or be asked to be researched by the Health Advisory Board
Okay.
and report back for the next council meeting if.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Christina, when is our next scheduled meeting? Do you know?
We were looking to schedule a meeting for actually this Thursday.
Okay, very good. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to present these inquiries to our Advisory Board of Health for investigation and report back to the council.
so we're clear, Madam Mayor, are we talking about the four that are on the slide, or are we talking about the big list that that Councilmember Steinmeier?
The 4 that's on the slide.
Okay.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
No.
Steinmeier.
Yes.
Hobart,
Nope.
Mayor Ware.
Yes, motion passes. Councilman Steinmeier, anything else?
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, thank you. I just want us to start thinking about and discussing our economic recovery plan that we have in the city, post-pandemic, the issues that we're seeing economically in our community. I would like to have some dialogue with all the council members, any ideas or any concerns that they have so that we can begin to talk about putting together an economic recovery plan in the near future.
Very
Madam
good.
Mayor, if I can interrupt.
Yes.
I've been discussing that, the on-the-roll committee has been discussing these different plans throughout the different economic hubs within the first district, so I would entertain the opportunity to continue discussing what we can do to move the small businesses and the economic hubs of those areas forward.
Okay. Anything else this evening?
Very briefly, I just wanted to say, the U.S. has set record numbers day after day in a row for positive COVID tests. Personally, I know more people now with COVID than I had before, and that's happened recently. We had over 130,000 positive cases in the United States. That's more than the entire country of India has had in a day, and they've got 3 or 4 times our population. So I would just continue to encourage folks to wear masks, use social distancing, wash your hands, and be smart about this. Staying healthy is the most important thing.
Thank you. I have several things that I jotted down during the course of this meeting that I wanted to touch on. The first was CARES Act recovery and relief. We're intending to do the next phase of our council strategic planning in January. That's kind of what we have laid out on the calendar. We're doing the public engagement part of that right now, and I encourage people to participate in that. You'll see opportunities around town to complete the survey and give input. But I feel that is too far in the future for us to really sit down as a council and lay out some of our opportunities and priorities in our financial recovery and relief, and how we may use federal CARES Act money to assist with that. The resolution that was on this evening regarding the suspension of landlord business licensing fees, I'm not against that idea. I just think that that bears a little bit more discussion, and I wasn't comfortable approving that as a resolution this evening. But we're really going at this every week, just a little of this and little of that, and we're coming up with some solutions that we hope have some positive and significant impact. But I think understanding that the situation is worse than it was and getting worse all the time, that we need to take a more comprehensive approach. We need to really look at what we can do. We're all out there talking to people in our community. I hosted a restaurant town hall meeting last week and heard from some of our independent restaurant owners about what they are learning in their industries. They had some suggestions of some things that we could do to help in terms of various fees, utilities, rent assistance. I mean, how can we leverage the money that we do have access to, and there may well be more money coming. So I do feel that we need to sit down as a council and talk about these things rather than doing these one-offs that we've kind of been doing every week. So we are not scheduled to have another meeting until December the 7th, which will be our first council meeting in December. We have canceled next week's study session. We did that long ago, which we typically do at Thanksgiving to give people a little extra time around the holiday. I don't think that we are prepared to do a meeting next week of this magnitude, but I would like to we do have a 5th Monday in this month. It is the Monday after Thanksgiving, and I don't know what the council members' schedules are around the holiday. But I would like to, as soon as possible, Mr. City Manager, get a study session on our calendar, whether it's on a Monday or some other day, that works to really look at all of these things. There's a lot of good ideas that are coming forward from this council, from our community, and we really need this time to sit down and really talk about these and decide which would be the most impactful and what we can do at this juncture. And that's not to say there wouldn't be more to come. The Jackson County order came out today. We are still interpreting and understanding that order. We have posed several questions to the county that we are awaiting a response on, and when we get clarity on that, we will be putting out a statement from the City of Independence to explain what this means for our businesses and our residences. Councilman Steinmeier and Huff, I thoroughly understand your intention with the resolutions that you have brought forward the last several council meetings, and but here's the reality. Our attempt to get the county's attention has not worked. They have not altered their communication with us in light of these resolutions that have come forward, and albeit they've not been approved by the majority of the council, they've certainly generated a lot of discussion, and it has not gotten the county's attention. So I feel that we need to continue to try to engage the county, try to get us, as you say, a seat at the table. And I think that there is a way to do that, and I believe that having a study session where we can discuss this would be very helpful. So we will certainly include how do we support our community. That's what this is all about. What can we do to influence some of we certainly have a lot of influence over our own resources, but how can we be a part of this regional discussion in a more impactful and powerful way? What we are hearing, what I am hearing from our business owners is no matter what the rules say, it boils down to consumer confidence. And the consumer just is not confident yet in, and is becoming less confident in going out, sitting in a restaurant, going out shopping, going to a movie. You know, these things are really hinged on consumer confidence, and our business owners in their various local, national organizations are seeing this trend as well and have shared some very interesting statistics about what their surveying is saying to them across the country, which is not good. That, you know, as many as 40% of people surveyed said they would not go to a restaurant even 6 months after a vaccine were available. So we need to continue to focus on how do we build that consumer confidence. Certainly what we are doing is intended to help with that, which is testing and tracing and encouraging people to follow these protocols, which we have all done. Every person on this council supports wear your mask, social distance, wash your hands, you know, be cautious when you're around people, stay home when you are sick. Our testing continues. I had the opportunity to help out on Saturday morning with our testing site at Adventure Oasis, and it's a very eye-opening experience. It's very popular, the demand is high. We did about 200 tests on Saturday morning between 9 and noon. I went by Mill Creek Park today, and they had about 275 individuals pre-registered to be tested today at Mill Creek Park, and that's about the demand that we're seeing, about 250 to 300 people every time we have one of those events. And the turnaround has been incredible. People get their results sometimes in less than 24 hours. So we are continuing to do that. I have a call tomorrow with Governor Parson that he has initiated, and we are in the process of preparing the information that I will share with the governor and what our needs are in this city for additional resources that may be available through the state. I've also heard from Congressman Cleaver in anticipation that there may be additional CDBG money available and how we would leverage that. And he has asked me to get a plan in place so if that money were to become available, that we have a program in place of how we will utilize that money. So, you know, as we've said from the beginning, if there's $1 out there, we're going to go try to get it. We know that the needs in our community are great. When I looked at the amended CARES Act budget that the city manager presented to us tonight, I think I saw 29 cents left in the utility assistance fund. 29 cents of millions of dollars that we put in. That tells us something very serious in our community, and it you know, and it's still 65 degrees outside. So we have a lot to discuss, and I don't think that we can wait much longer to sit down and have this discussion. So I will be reaching out to each of you, to the city manager and the city clerk, to see if we can schedule a meeting within these next few weeks to work through some of these issues. Mr. City Manager, anything else this evening?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
We are adjourned.